Hi everyone, welcome back to our channel. Today I'm going to be looking at the Proxxon Hot Wire Cutter, their Thermocut 115/E model. It's kind of funny, but this shopping trip actually didn't begin with me wanting a Proxxon. It began for this, an OLFA utility knife and some extra blades. I've heard great things about these and I ended up with this, a Proxxon. Certainly more expensive than a utility knife, but that is the wonder of Amazon Prime, isn't it? Well, enough about my shopping habits. The Proxxon seems to be packaged fairly well, although the instruction manual does seem a bit light, and I've seen that online where people said the instructions weren't terrific, but let's see what we've got here. And you can see this is why I don't do unboxing videos. I'm not great at taking things apart. And already I'm thinking, oh great, I got a faulty Proxxon. There's a loose wire with a spade plug on it. But maybe there's a reason for that. One initial impression is that this thing feels very solid. For such a small unit, it's got good weight to it. Now here's one of the accessories that come with the unit. This is their fence. Looks reasonable. And here's what they call their overarm. Now this is, you can't really tell, but this is a solid piece of metal. It's not hollow. It's got very good weight to it. And oh, there's a little note about our loose red wire, so things are already looking up. The way they package this, you have to do a little work here. Now this is called a spool carrier. You're going to have to turn that around and put it on this side. So the first thing you want to do is remove this screw and just set it aside so you don't lose it. Then just take the spool carrier off, put it on the side, and what we're going to do first is actually mount the overarm to the body of the unit. Now here's the slot that the overarm fits into, so turn the unit upside down, and obviously you want to put in the short end of the overarm. Now you can see that hole there in the overarm, that matches up with threads on the other side. So there we go, now we're in place. Once this overarm is in place, just take that oversized knurled screw and just snug everything up. It really does give you a nice solid feel. And there we go. And we're back to that loose red wire. Well, they did give us a lovely insert, so now we know what to do with this. That's the screw we took off earlier from the overarm, and just connect that up to the spade plug, snug it up, and we're good to go. And this is what supplies power from the power supply to the hot wire with low voltage. Okay, here's our spool carrier, and one thing I will say about this, the pieces, these components are very solid, all solid metal, not like a cheaply formed metal. These are nice pieces. Now the reason I'm taking this apart, so you can see there are 3 washers. One goes above the spool, 2 go below it. Okay, once the washers are set correctly, just screw this back into the top of the wire carrier, and this is actually what sets the tension for the hot wire itself. Alright, now it's time to put the spool carrier onto the overarm. Couldn't be simpler. And that one knurled screw on the side, again, that's what that's what firms it up to the overarm and also sets the angle of the wire. But we'll get to that in a minute. On the side of the spool carrier, there's a very fine slot cut, and that is where the hot wire gets threaded through. Okay, that's the overarm all set, the wire's in, and now we have to attach the other end of the wire. Now Proxxon calls this the lower wire guide. I would have called it the brass cup of wire retention. I don't know, something catchy. In the directions, Proxxon suggests putting about a 2-inch length of wire into this lower wire guide, and the way you do that is turn that large knurled knob on the front panel anti-clockwise or counterclockwise, put the wire in, and then tighten up that screw. There we go. And your wire should be all snugged up. Okay, once the wire's connected at the bottom, I just like to then run that wire through the little guide in the top spool carrier, tighten the wire up with the top screw, and we have a taut wire. Taking a look at one of the accessories, the fence that comes with it. Now it seems pretty well built, but one thing I'm not crazy about I'll get to in a minute, but you see you can change the angle of it. It seems to lock into the body of the unit fairly well, but the, well, we'll get to it, like I said, we'll get to it in a sec. That sliding bar seems a little floppy to me. I don't know if that's normal. Again, this is the first time you're seeing me open this and play with this for the first time, so I'm not quite sure, but it does seem a little loose. I do like that you can put the fence on the front or on the side. That's very nice. What I'm not as crazy about, as I mentioned, is this floppiness in the fence itself. I would have thought it would have been manufactured to a tighter tolerance, because I can't see this as being a great idea, but well, we'll see how that plays out when I start cutting. On the front of the unit, there's a sticker that shows you power level recommendations for the thickness of foam you want to cut. Next up, we have the knurled knob for clamping the wire to the table, the on-off LED, and to the right of that is the power adjustment knob, and finally the on-off switch. You can easily change the angle of the cut you want to put into your foam, but since this is my first time using this unit, I'm going to go with straight, perfectly vertical cuts. And to line that wire up, I'm going to use a little machinist square. To make these adjustments, when you want to change an angle, you'll have to use the two knurled screws up top. It's just a matter of going back and forth, tweaking them a little bit until you get them right. And here we have a pretty nice vertical angle. Okay, now we get to the exciting part. We start cutting foam. I ran up and picked up a couple of these, they're 2 foot by 2 foot square foams, 1 inch up at Home Depot. And let's see how we get on here. I set the power adjustment knob at 4, which according to the legend on the front of the machine, let's see, number 4 is good for 20 to 50 millimeter thick. And this is a 1 inch piece of foam, which is 25.4 millimeter. So I should be right in the ballpark. Now, as this was my very first cut with the machine, there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve. You can see there are some uneven bits here where I hesitated, where I moved a little against the fence. So it wasn't a perfect cut, but again, first cut with the machine. Let's try some more. Okay, one lesson I've learned quickly is that it's much easier and much more accurate, cleaner too, to cut shorter pieces than a 2 foot long piece of foam. Let's keep going. Definitely getting a better feel for how fast you can push the foam through the wire. Now this machine does have a few shortcomings. I think the fence is one, the fact that it's a bit floppy, that the instructions were a little dodgy, but overall, take a look at this cut. It's difficult to argue with the results. It really does give you a nice, really beautiful clean cut. Realistically, you couldn't do this with a knife, not on a 1 inch piece of foam. A perfect angle. Very nicely done. I like the machine. Initially, I can see using this to cut square, perfectly square little bases for some of our product displays like these gypsum castings, but I'm sure I'll find other reasons to use this machine. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, remember to like and subscribe to our channel. We'll see you next time.